say it's a dubious pleasure because it's kind of like stealing his thunder to tell you about Angel before he tells us about Angel. But nonetheless, as everybody probably knows that's on the call, Angel hails to us from Madrid in Spain. He's well known to all of us because he's been an associate member of the club for a number of years now, and joined us as an active member with effect from July the 1st, and of course has been a very active participant as an associate member in terms of the Thursday coffee chats. So everybody who's a coffee chat person has seen a lot of Angel. He joined Rotary originally, as he'll probably tell us, in 2014, and ended up last year being the president of his club in Spain, and then decided that once he had gotten that obligation out of the way, he would come and join us as a full-time member. So we're delighted to have Angel as a full-time member after his years of association with us. It goes to show that associate membership works in the way that it was originally intended to work, to allow people to be exposed to the club and to decide that we were good enough to join. So Angel, we welcome you to the club, and so I don't steal any more of your thunder in terms of your classification talk, we'll turn the floor over to you.
Oh,
No sound, Angel.
Oh, no.
I don't think you're plugged in. Uh-oh, we got a problem.
Angel, we can't hear you.
It doesn't say you're muted, so there must be a problem with the
no,
connection.
not plugged in.
We need to have someone with ASL capabilities.
It's one of those famous airports for the USB rather than the actual connected port for the USB. Now we've lost our camera angle, but I'm sure you'll get the technicals sorted out.
That's Murphy's Law for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
There it goes. What happened to my camera?
Oh, we can hear you.
That's sound.
Okay.
There we
we
see you too. Well done.
Now I was saying that my obligations with Majadahonda just got fulfilled last Thursday. We finally presented the accounts for the previous year and we got them approved. So that is completed. So having said that, so I guess you are expecting to hear my classification talk. I think some of you have seen it before, because somehow I have it this dated from 2019. So obviously it's not the first time I used it. But mind you, history, doesn't change too much, especially with the past. If you change your curriculum with time, you are off. Well, let's start by saying who I am. And what? There it is. So I was born in 1955. I was born in Madrid. The second son of these two fellows were over here, which I don't think they were even expecting it, because there are 12-year difference between my older brother and myself. So somehow I have the feeling that I was an accident, although they never recognized it. Okay. So this is basically a picture of my parents and me when I was just at tender age of 8 years old. And, the old times in Madrid, how they were. A lot of people, they probably remember that type of setup. Now everything got more modern. So time elapsed in my family during high school and so on until 1975. 1975 was a slow year for me, but it's filled up with a lot of things. It's a very special year for me. First of all, it's the year I graduated from university. I graduated from chemical sciences from the Autonomous University of Madrid. I didn't get to be the first promotion, but I was the second promotion. It was a brand new university, and I was on the second promotion of that. My daughter actually just made the her second master over there, and it complied with about almost 50 years.
Second
So-
daughter had a second master's in there 50 years later.
50 years later, my daughter approved a master's degree in there. Mind though, not in sciences. She doesn't like the sciences very much. She went for pedagogy. At the same time, that year I graduated, I put my application for permanent residence in Madrid. So after that, well, it didn't take that long. Now everybody says that it takes over 2 years. In my case, I think they took about 6 months. But anyhow, my next destination was Brampton in Ontario. I think some of you, they live relatively close to there. And that place started my 21 years scroll throughout Canada until now, until I returned to Spain. Well, Canada has a very special place in my heart, not only because it's my adopted country, but it represents the starter of my professional career and when I arrived to be all that I could be. So it's very distinct place. Well, and now what did I do? Remember in 76, I arrived in Canada. I don't know whether you have noticed that I mentioned that I never worked. I graduated in 75 and I moved to Canada in 75. So you can imagine how much work experience I had. 0. So I arrived in Canada without experience. And, a chemist, well, but I'm going to look for a job. What's a nice place to work on? A pharmaceutical company. I started working for William Rotary. Boy, it doesn't match up with my spirit. The pharmaceutical company, because of the nature of the industry, they have to do things always the same way. You cannot question things. You have to do it that way because it's always done that way. You cannot expect to have a patient to take a prescription and have the concentration vary from one batch to another. It's a no, 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 no. And if you have to heat up something at 100 degrees, you cannot heat it up at 110, nor you cannot heat it up at 90. It has to be 100 on the mark. So, well, I really don't like to be told to do things, to do things a certain way because somebody tells me to do them. I like to know the reasons. And if I think there is a better way, I like to try it. So what happened? Then I started looking for a job, and then these guys appeared. British plasterboards. The ones that are from Southern Ontario, well, actually from Southern Ontario, from BC as well, or from Alberta, because we were throughout Canada. Remember the name Westrock? If you have put Gyproc on your house, Gyproc is a trade name from Domtar. You probably have a product that I made or I helped make. These are their main offices in Oakville. And I said, well, why do they need a chemist to work on the gypsum industry? Gypsum, it's just gypsum. What else? What's so excited about it? Well, I learned very quickly. I learned that to being a chemist, it wasn't good enough. I had to adjust all my knowledge from chemistry to work in chemical engineering as well, because I had to work with combustions, I had to work with formulations, I had to work with transferring of solids and so on. So I ended up falling in love with these little guys. You know what these guys are? You know the gypsum, the plaster that you have on the wall? That's what it is. When you look under the microscope, those things, they are gypsum crystals. Well, and these are where it got me all my work history. I started working, first of all, for British Gypsum or Westrock. Then I started working for Domtar. The name will probably be very familiar as well, no? And then with Domtar, the downturn came over, Domtar starting having red numbers all over their budgets, and they started trying to sell or trying to get rid of most of their assets. The only sacred cow that they had, it was the paper mill in Windsor. they spent over $1 billion worth of 1980. You know, and they said that that plant is going to be the future of the company. I have to recognize that Pierre Desjardins, who was the big executive of Domtar, at the time everybody questioned him. Now, 50 years later, I have to say that he was right. Domtar nowadays is one of the leader paper manufacturers, not in Canada, in the world. And that plant of Windsor, you know, is the Cadillac. So they started selling their assets, and then all of a sudden came these guys, Georgia Pacific, again, probably a name familiar to all of you guys. Basically, it doesn't matter where you are in Canada, because they are throughout the place, and who put a check for $350 million on the table, and they said, well, the gypsum division is all mine. And then after that, for reasons that we'll go of that later, I came to Spain, and I started working for another smaller gypsum company called Pladur or Yesos Ibéricos in here, where I worked until the restructuring. Well, what did I do? Well, this is what did I do throughout the gypsum industry. I work as a research technologist, I work as a quality control, I work as a material specialist, as a quality control manager, a process control engineer, and then here in Spain, I was a plant manager. Now, throughout all of that one, I had to work with all the company plants throughout the Canada and the United States. Both companies, well, Georgia Pacific didn't have, but Canada had plants in the US and Canada. Georgia Pacific only had plants in the US. All in all, I've been on the teams for a startup of 3 plant startups. The Calgary plant that is in Ogdendale, anyone that is from Calgary, just beside the CP yards, I started that plant. I also started another one in Boston, and we started the one here in Baltimore, Spain. I also had the not so pleasant task of mothballing 2 plants, you know, when the things they weren't, when the economy wasn't acceptable, they say, okay, let's shut down the plant, and let's shut down the plant on a way that if we have to, we can restart it again. So I shut down 2 of those, one in Saskatoon and the other one in Colorado Springs. And I said that I mothballed 2. I restarted another one. I also restarted the one in the plant in Sweetwater in Texas. So basically, as you can see, most of my life, and that accounts for a good 30 something odd years, is on the gypsum industry. Well, okay. Yeah, it was something that I was going to say, because it's a small detail of why. I did mention that I started working for a British gypsum, or Western. It's a funny situation, because it almost got repeated with a different pattern also here in GP. You know, when I applied for the job, you know, they arrived at the end, and there were 2 final applicants to be decided upon. One of them was a Turk from Turkey, and the other one was myself. The director of the department was an Englishman, in all conscience, an Englishman. They were the one that with the hat and the golf and everything. And my direct boss was a Greek person, was from Thessalonica. Curiously, at the time, Greece had just finished a war with Turkey over some islands in. So he told me later, he said, you had to have the job, because there's no way I was going to have a Turk on my team. Curiously enough, but hey, it happens that way. The situation got repeated again with these guys in Georgia Pacific. I told you that Domtar sold their plants to Georgia Pacific, but that represented a problem. All their technical staff had to move from Burlington, that's where they were at the time, over to Atlanta. And all of a sudden, they had a problem trying to find out what happened, and they say, okay, well, let's find it. And there I show up in Edmonton. We had experience in servicing all the plants. Perhaps I wasn't the best, but it fit the task. And, I apply for them and they say, good, fine, you meet all the requirements. When are you going to come? We agreed on salary, we agreed on position, we agreed on everything. And then all of a sudden he comes and tells me, he said, well, you have one thing that none of the other applicants have. I said, do I? What's that? He said, how long have you been in Canada? He said, well, for over 15 years. He said, and you've been in the same industry for the same time? I said, yeah. He said, when you go to a Canadian plant, they are going to see a coworker that they have worked with for a long time. When you go to the Canadian plants here in the US, they are going to see you a member of their team. How do you think the American plants, they are going to see a Canadian that is going to come and tell them what to do? He said, in your case, in Canada, they are going to look at you as a Canadian, but in the US, they are not going to look at you as a Canadian. They are going to look at you as a Spaniard. So you are not going to start from -5, like any other coworker of yours is. You will start from 0. You'll have an opportunity to get started. So, funny part, the way things go, Anyhow, that's basically all the stories about my work experience. Let's go on my personal. Well, back on 93, boy, did I take long to get married, 55, I was almost 40 years old when I got married, So I got to this lady, which is from the northwestern Spain. It's about 150 kilometers from where my father was. And out from there, they came out these 3 little guys. One of them is Chris, the other one is Cathy, and this is Michael. No, they're still living in the house. He's the only one who, for the moment, appears to have an serious interest on someone from the opposite sex. He's going out with another Canadian girl from South Africa. So, and she's a pedagogist. And he's an electronic engineer. He's working now with high-speed rail transit. And from what I've been told, I've been hearing rumors that Alstom is looking for a position with his qualifications in Mississauga. So he might end up being to Mississauga. Now, this is what the rest of my family is. Now, what did I do? Well, this is what do I do. A lot of the guys know this uniform, right? You know this uniform? Well, what I did, basically, I was fairly involved in the church, both in Calgary and Edmonton. We did a lot of fundraising activities, bingos, casino nights, breakfast after mass. Most of you guys, they know those activities. They are quite common in a regular parish. I was a member of KFC since 1986. And then that was the start of the volunteering department. I was in the hosting committee of the 1988 Olympics. And then after that, when I moved back to Toronto, I was in the Travel Aid Society, basically just making reservations and so on. No? Then going back, Rotary activities, no? Somebody says that everybody's a Rotarian at heart, no? That person might just not know it, no? We mentioned that I first joined in Rotary in 2014, yeah. But, I had contacts with Rotary since 1979. My brother was a Rotarian in the Brampton Club, and, I had contacts with several Rotarians for quite a few years. But, you have to understand and basically excuse that when you are new in the country, you don't have a house, you are not settled. You have a lot of things, to look after before you start looking for activities that are really extra curriculum. The first time I joined Rotary was here in Majadahonda. And this is basically what I did in Rotary. I've been the club treasurer for 2 years. Well, obviously this is being canned, is from the previous year. I have participated in other activities such as the Rotarian Forest. This is an activity that we do in the Guadarrama Sierra. we go every year and we plant one, each Rotarian plants a tree. And we work for the food bank projects. This photograph corresponds to the STAR project program of Majadahonda, which is what is called the youth camp. Every year, except for the last two that due to COVID, we get a bunch of people from other countries, no more than 2 from each country, and preferably of different sex, and to spend 2 weeks in the Guadarrama Sierra. During that stay, we also take them on excursions to Segovia, Salamanca, Toledo, and Avila. No, so usually they enjoy it a lot, and when that one, I'll probably when this year project gets set up, I'll pass you the information for if you want to send some of your kids over to the camp. Now, these are some of the activities. Every year as well, we have a monument to Paul Harris in the Rosales Park here in Madrid. And every year we made a small ceremony in there and we get together. This is basically some of us going there. This is a picture of the Rotary forest. Here we are planting the trees. And we usually do have a fair amount of get-togethers on each other's houses. For example, this was a get-together that we had in the house of a former president who has an old age home here. We just simply get together and just have some fun. And that's pretty much about it. I know it was a short. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please let me know. But don't forget this one. If you ever come to Spain, remember that we are here. And with that one, I finish turning it over to you guys. You have any questions?
Anglo, just one for me.
Yes.
You say you started your career in gypsum.
Yes. Well,
Would you
actually, no.
ever-
I started my career in the pharmaceutical industry,
Okay,
but I only stayed there for 6 months.
and then you were in the gypsum field for some time. Did you have any connection? I think gypsum was mined in sort of central Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Westro.
Westro had a quarry there, and
Yes.
as a matter of fact, now we do have a factory. Also, when you were talking before, I mentioned I seem to heard you mention the name Windermere. Were you in Windermere?
No, that was Jim. Jim was in Windermere.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah, it's
In
an area
Edmonton,
in
suburb of
Edmonton.
Edmonton.
Okay,
So
because
the-
we had a mine in Windermere. Yes, yeah. Basically at the time I started working with them is these guys, British Gypsum. The farther east they went, it was a plant that they had in Montreal, in Saint Catherine d'Alexandrie. But after I left, they purchased some of the plants in Nova Scotia as well, in Macadam. I don't know where you know the location, Macadam, Nova Scotia.
Angel, I
Yeah.
assume can I ask a question? I assume you ceased to be a permanent resident of Canada. I assume you're also a Canadian citizen now, are you?
I am Canadian,
and
yes.
Canadian Spanish dual, presumably, yeah?
Yes.
Good.
As a matter of fact, it was quite good because my daughter was also looking for a job. And
Yeah.
when I was applying for the passports, the lady at the embassy said, "Oh, gee, it's a pity that she doesn't speak French." He said, "Because we have a job in here for her." But she has to speak French to be here.
Yeah.
Right.
When were you in, when did you first come to Calgary, Anglo?
Well, okay. In Calgary, I got in 1979, 1980.
Okay, I
1980.
was wondering whether our paths were almost crossed because in the 70s I was working for the Caterpillar dealer selling forklifts, and I was selling to Westrock.
Mm-hmm.
but it would have been to the marketing place, Fisher Road.
You probably sold them the front end loader.
Yes.
Then I moved back east to Caledonia on 1988, just after the Olympics.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Edmonton when I got married. This is one of the things that I like about those three companies. You know, they treated me like family. You know, when I was in Burlington and when I was in Caledonia, I had to travel a lot. You know, we had about 20 plants across the Canada and the US, and I was out of the house for about 3 weeks out of the month. You know, when one plant wasn't having a problem, another one did. So sometimes I arrived on Friday at the house, and I just had a telephone call, say, hey, don't bother coming into the office on Monday. Get on a plane and head back too. When I was going to get married, I talked to my boss and I said, listen, he said, this type of a job is usually not very good on family life. I would appreciate if when there is a suitable opening available, you move me to a plant. God, I got married, I came back, and 2 months later, I was on my way to Edmonton. So
When
I
was
have to say that.
Sorry.
So I have to say that both companies, they treated me extremely well.
Angel, when's the last time you were in Canada?
About 2 years ago, I went on holidays for a month.
Oh, good.
I wanted to show the kids what their second, well, for them is their first country, what the other country was, and I have one trip more that has to be done is to the west. You know, they've been in the east. I took them to Hamilton, took them to Toronto, and I took them to Montreal. I didn't go any farther because we didn't have much time to do that. And there is another trip pending, which is out west. What I was planning to do is perhaps flying over to Vancouver, and they just drive to Calgary and return to Vancouver via Edmonton. Just do it by car or with a motorhome or something like that in the winter.
We'll have to have a pod meeting when you're here.
Yes.
I must admit, I've never met anybody who was ever excited about gypsum before, so I think.
Yes, that's good.
I asked myself the same question.
Yeah.
I remember, look at that slide. Look at that slide.
Okay, if there's no,
One thing. Once you get into it, you will never get bored.
probably.
Nobody will tell you how to do things. If you know a better way to do it, by all means, go out and try it and prove that you are right or you are wrong. Go ahead and do it. Don't
That's
stop.
right. So, David, if there's no more questions, I'll call upon David.
Thank you very much, Tammy. When I first meet somebody, I'm always interested to hear about their life, where they were born, brought up, and what gave them an interest to pursue their career. And this becomes an even greater interest when there's a fellow Rotarian, and especially so in this club, as we often don't get to meet fellow members in person. So thank you for sharing your life with us, Angel, and we're glad to have you as a member of our club. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks to you guys.
Great.
I
Thank
would
you,
just like to say, I think we need to organize a field trip to Spain.
Dave. Yeah.
Just let me know.
Friendship exchange. Rotary friendship exchange.
Yeah.
You know, as many people would say, how gypsum can be really boring. I found Angel's presentation very entertaining.
Yes.
Thank you, Angel.
Okay, you're very welcome.
It was a lovely compilation of everything. Can I have a question here? How is your daughter after that accident?
Well, it looks like she's well, almost fully recovered. every once in a while she gets an anxiety attack. But mind you, she has started working about 2 months ago on a school here as a pedagogist doing orientation, and it looks like she's holding pretty good.
I know it was difficult. Was it 2 years ago?
Yes, it was 2 years ago, and it was bad. It was
Yeah,
very bad.
yeah. I'm so happy that she's doing well. Good.
Well, that's great news.
Even the doctors at the hospital got surprised at how quickly she recovered. Because when we arrived, my wife was out visiting her mother, and she was going to come back in a couple of days, 2 days later. And I said, well, now she's in here in the hospital, she's well taken care of. I'm here, my other son is here. I'd rather not worry the wife and just tell her that is later when she comes. And the doctor says, I wouldn't do that. So the doctors might probably didn't think very much of it.
Well, that's great news. Okay, we're going to move on. We have a full agenda, so I'm going to turn things over to Sharon. Sharon, I think we'll jump right into your presentation. I'll embed that other video into the bulletin, the one from Jennifer.
Okay.
So let's
great.
start with your presentation.
All right, let's see if I can pull it up here. All right. Okay, oh, no, that's not what I want, sorry. Do you have it handy? It's not coming up with me. Where is it? Oh, I had it up, don't know where it went. Do you have it, Tammy,
I'll
handy?
just find it here.
Jeez. I just checked it all this morning and everything. No. Okay, I'm gonna go out and find it again. Here it is. Oh, you got it. Okay, good. All right, we play the slideshow. So thank you very much to Kim. She put this together for us. It's a little bit complicated. It's got 2 videos embedded in it, so I'm just hoping it's going to work. So I think we all know this, that smallpox, the World Health Organization declared smallpox the first and only human disease to be eradicated. But of course, polio's been on the radar for a lot of years as well. And Rotary decided to get involved because of a project that was vaccine project in the Philippines. That was run by a company, or not a company, a club, I believe in New Zealand. So anyway, World Polio Day is October the 24th. And from that very, very modest beginnings, we have international partners all over the world, and billions of dollars have been spent on trying to eradicate this disease. Next, Tammy. So I think many of you know about the purple finger. The paint on the purple finger after young people become vaccinated. So that's how they tell that they've received a vaccine. So I'm not going to read the slides, you can read them. So this is supposed to be an interactive. If you click on it, Tammy, it's supposed to just click on it or slide across it. There you go. Talks about the progress to polio. Yeah, so basically Pakistan, I think, is the only really endemic country right now, but there's been sporadic cases popping up again around the world. We're such a mobile society now that it's a challenge to keep it down. So 2.2 billion Rotary members, and that doesn't include the amount that's been contributed from Bill Gates and the different governments around the world that have also supported it. So 19.4 million people have been vaccinated. So the interesting thing about this, our infrastructure that we've used for our polio vaccination has now been used to help with the COVID fight. So we've been able to duplicate our polio vaccination structure to help with that. So you can see Kim has put up there World Polio Day, October 24th, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Okay, let's see if I can get this I want to get this video up and running if I can get it to share. Okay, why oh, you're sharing, so I can't. Okay. Let's just see if I can get this. Oh, it's up. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay.
When a crisis hits, we look for solutions and react to the challenge of the moment. In 2020, that's COVID-19. And as the world races to find a vaccine, the polio eradication infrastructure is playing a critical role in protecting communities from the pandemic. It might seem invisible, but it's a vast disease-fighting toolkit that surveils for traces of the polio virus and tests thousands of samples every year and focuses critical resources through hubs and emergency operation centers, maintains a sophisticated logistics network to safely deliver vaccine, and trains health workers to inform the community of the importance of immunizing children. Now, Rotary and its partners are using this polio infrastructure to also help respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Surveillance is a cornerstone of the polio eradication effort. In Ethiopia, community volunteers are now reporting suspected COVID-19 cases. And community health workers conduct house-to-house visits to identify suspected cases. Knowledge and information hubs like emergency operation centers are central to polio eradication activities in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nigeria. They are now also used as coordination centers for COVID-19 response, where polio partners develop plans, analyze data, and quickly share information, all in a centralized location. In Benin, teams created a national interactive dashboard, tracing contacts, mapping cases, and managing data. In Pakistan, Rotary's polio resource centers offer COVID-19 training for health workers, and one center serves as a testing site for the community. Across regions, the logistics network used to distribute polio vaccines is now essential in getting personal protective equipment to remote areas. In Pakistan, trained staff have collected thousands of COVID-19 samples. And teaming with UNICEF, Rotary distributed more than 3 million bars of soap to households in vulnerable areas of Afghanistan. Because good hygiene protects against polio and COVID-19. This infrastructure relies on the trusted voices of community influencers. The relationships they build ensure accurate health information protects the community against polio. In Afghanistan, 70,000 of them have been trained by the polio program. Now hundreds of thousands of households have access to critical polio and COVID-19 prevention information. Rotary and our partners built an infrastructure that is now addressing the largest public health crisis in a generation. We should be proud of this contribution. And eventually, when planes, boats, trains, and cars carry people around the world and viruses travel with them, this infrastructure will live on to tackle public health priorities and ensure a polio-free world. Your ongoing support for polio eradication will leave behind this everlasting legacy for decades to come.
Okay, Tammy, do you want to pull it up again? Thanks. So I found that very fascinating, and that we have that partnership and are able to use our current resources and all our knowledge. So I think we're on number 8. Okay. There we go. So this is Rotary in action. 1 million Rotary members donated their time and money to eradicate polio. I know in Chilliwack here, a number of our members have gone on vaccination trips. Has anybody in our club attended one? I haven't either, but I was going to, and then they kind of stopped them for a bit. So I don't know if they're going to, they probably won't utilize Rotarians very much anymore. So where are we now? We've made tremendous progress, but we're not there yet. Again, Pakistan, I think, is the hot spot right now. So they're still trying to eliminate this this disease. So I think I've got another video here. Dennis is speaking. Maybe we can stop sharing and I can find it. Okay, where's my videos? Here we go. Let's see if I can screen share that. There we go. Okay, let's see if we can get that. Trying to get it larger. Let's see if it works. There we go.
Life seems linear. It's a story you get really good at telling. But in moments of uncertainty, when I have no idea what direction to take, I tell myself to do even more. Polio changed the way I walk, but not what I can be. I'm a father, a professional, an activist, a national champion, and a polio survivor. My father told me it's not where you start that matters, it's how you finish. After paralysis, I worked to regain the strength to walk. I never gave in to polio, and neither can you. Every day we're one step closer to eradication. Let's finish, and finish strong.
So I thought that was a very powerful story of a man who's just overcome so many obstacles. I just want to talk a little bit about where we are in our club. Whoop, that hasn't stopped. Stop sharing. Oh dear, I need to stop this. Okay, there we go. Stop.
Eyesight.
There we go. I think I've got it.
Don't take requests.
Okay.
So I go and look after the
Can't hear
dog.
anything now, right? Okay, I want to talk about where we are now, and we set a goal of $1,000 for Polio Plus this year in our club, and to date we have 0 donations. So I'm hoping that this week is going to kickstart our goal, and so that we can reach our goal this year. So one of the things I want to share with you is something called Polio Plus. Can you see this? No, you can't see it. Where's the sharing? Just a second here. Oh my gosh. Oh, here we go. Okay. Here we go. I think this is it. Polio Plus. Okay, can you see this? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so Rotary in our district has decided to introduce a Polio Plus Society. And basically it's a district program that's promoting every one of us to give to the Polio Plus Fund. So it's $1,000 US a year. And there is a commitment form to sign, and it doesn't all have to be donated at one time. So you receive a society pin, an exclusive framed certificate. So we can be presented at one of our fellowship assemblies.
That said 100 US
100.
dollars, not
I'm sorry.
1,000.
No, our goal is 1,000, sorry. And it's saying 100 US dollars. I apologize. So yeah, so 100 US dollars, it can be given in more than one go. Yeah, and of course we will be matched 2 to 1. It is US dollars, unfortunately. Okay, and there is a form that you can complete.
I don't think that's correct. 100.
What?
It's not 100 US. I'm pretty sure it's 1,000 US.
Well, I asked her about that and she said it was 100. So
In District 6330 and in District 7020, like 7020 had this a year ago, and it's, you pledge that you will donate $100
$100
per year
per year.
to be
Yeah.
part of the Polio Plus Society.
Okay, can you see this? Can you see this form?
I changed it then.
Yeah, can you see the form? Polio Plus Society,
Yes,
the commitment form. Okay, so this is the form they're asking you to complete, that you will, you know, as Kitty says, commit to $100 US per year.
I'll put it in the bulletin this week.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay. So Tammy is going to focus on Polio Plus in our bulletin on Sunday because Monday is the polio day.
So Sharon, clever you, if we all pledged that and paid our $100 this year, the club would make its $1,000 mark.
Yes.
Yay, you, well done.
So even if everybody gave $50 and there's 20 of us, right, or whatever, and that includes Recco, whatever. But if we could get our 1,000, that would be pretty awesome for the club. I think it's a pretty reachable goal for our club for sure. And yeah, that's it, folks.
Yeah, I mean, it should be reachable. I don't know of a year in the recent past where we haven't actually gone above the $1,000 for polio. So and as always, it's this particular time frame when people actually are spurred to make the donations.
Yeah.
So it's likely we will make that goal, but it would be good to make it.
So I am putting a challenge out there. I am going to become a Polio Plus Society member, and I am going to contribute my $100 US, probably in a couple of installments. And yeah, so I put a challenge out there. Let's see how many of our club can do this, be part of this. So any questions about polio or about anything that we talked about today? Yeah. Well, we got a few minutes just to chat if you like.
We were going to do the assembly survey.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah, but Kim isn't with us. Do you have it?
I have the survey. Yep.
Okay, well, let's put that up. So we're going to just talk to you about the survey. We did a fellowship assembly survey and we had 10 responses, I believe. And if Tammy can't bring it up, I recall it. 7 of them want to keep our fellowship assemblies exactly the way we are. Same day, same time. And I mean, we've been going around and around with this fellowship assembly. Do we change the time? Do we move the date? What do we do? We've been doing it for years. Ever since I belonged to the club, which is 5+ years, this has been a constant agenda item or comment. It's okay, Tammy, I don't think we need it.
It's just a bunch of graphs, basically. I don't think it's a really any big interest. The majority, I think, is the point we want it at the same time. And
yeah, 7 out of 10. So we didn't have all the club respond, but I also think this time is more approachable for our Recco members if they choose to join us on the fellowship assembly time of the day, where they are in the world, because this is when they hold their meetings as well. So any comments about that? Got a good turnout this morning. Yep.
And I'd just like to thank Vicki and Kim for stepping up to the plate to take on the planning of the fellowship assembly. This is the first one that they've put together. Kim is doing, it helps out a lot for other people to be learning how to do some of these things so that we're not always relying on the same person. So we appreciate that, Vicki, and Kim's not here today, but thank you.
Yeah, it's taken a load off Tammy for sure, because she does the majority of a lot of the stuff, and Tammy's got a lot on her plate. And so when Vicky and Kim said they would come on board and help out, and we've had a couple of Zoom meetings, and I think they're well on their way to giving us some great fellowship assemblies. So that's awesome.
Okay, do we have, if we want to finish off with the official part of the program, I'll stop the recording and then we can fellowship for a few minutes. Was there anything else anybody wanted to add to the topic of today's agenda? If not, thank you, Angel, again for your participation, and Sharon for telling us more about polio. I'll just stop the recording here.